Anish to answer this.
All right. So MLD debentures are one of our sources of funds that we are procuring to fund the entire project. And like this is going to be if the contract or if the board of directors agree, and that is how we're going to be extracting sources. And coming to the liquidity part of what you were speaking about. Now, previously also we've had issues where liquidity was an issue for the company. We've come across situations where the money hasn't reached the company despite despite investors investing in us, the money did not reach the company, which is why we're focusing on the liquidity aspect of it as well, so that once like we get the money, we make sure that the liquidity part of it goes properly and is undisturbed.
Judges, we have 1 minute of rebuttal time
Also,
left.
one last thing is, sir, MLD debentures essentially is market-linked debentures, and why we choose that as a particular to garner sources of funds is essentially the state of the market right now. Everyone's moving towards a safer side of investments. So the moment we put market-linked debentures, people will already remove their people who are removing their money from the stock market would love to put it over here, and that is a good source of our fund.
And any questions?
Yeah, so I actually just wanted to continue on your question, Aaron. First thing, I don't think it was explained how liquidity is going to be maintained. Secondly, MLD debentures, what kind of cost are we looking at these funds?
And also with respect to what's different, I don't think that was covered, but that's okay. Like, please go ahead with Prachi's question.
Okay, sir, to answer your question,
keep in mind the time limit.
What's different is advent of technology, and we are using cheaper and better quality means of building in general. As real estate we should focus on our infrastructure and B2B sales. So our client acquisition strategies are going to be foolproof. And ma'am, about how are we going to maintain liquidity? So everything that we are going to do is going to have a huge contingency fund, and at the same time, the technology that we are using is almost 1/6 of the price that normal buildings take to use. So we have a certain fund, and the technology that we're using is going to help us save a lot. So we have a lot of
participants. Please wrap up. We have exhausted our rebuttal time.
A significant amount of contingency and operational amount which will have liquidity in our hands, and we're building the
on, sir, how we're going to maintain liquidity is basically what I wanted to say was there are going to be committees in place which are going to make sure that all the money that the investors are putting in us, or all the money that we are procuring from these sources of funds, comes directly to the company and not to any individual, which had happened previously with our company. So to stop that, we were focusing on liquidity as well.
Understood. Okay, thank you for that.
Thank you so much.
All right, thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you, board of directors. All the best for
one more thing, you'll be presenting to the board of directors. I think this has been communicated already, but I'll just repeat that.
Okay, cool. Shall we start?
Yeah.
Okay, so good afternoon to the board of directors. So we have done a very comprehensive analysis of the two sectors that we are planning to expand in. That is, one is hospitality and the other one is retail. So talking about the hospitality sector, we expect a major potential in the hospitality sector because there will be a 6.7% growth, and there is a projection that the tourism sector alone will become a 35 trillion market in the future in around 2029. So that is where we are going to tap into the market of hospitality services. So we are also expecting a 30.5 million international tourist arrival by 2029, which a major aspect of which will be health tourism. So, and the development of smart city projects in and around the places that we have chosen will have an increase in the moving working population that will come and go into the country. So we are also focusing on those consumers for our as a market base. So quite a few of these places that we have suggested in South India are IT hubs. So that is where the focus is on. So there are a lot of government policies as well which support this sector. There are additional incentives given to MSMEs that are directly engaging in tourism so that the tourism industry actually develops. So this is directly giving an incentive to enter the hospitality sector, and the government is also focusing on regional tourism. And one major aspect of the Indian economy is that tourism is very cheap. That is why we have a lot of inflow of tourists coming in, and that is where we'll be focusing on the hospitality sector. Regarding the retail sector, Jay?
Yeah. The retail sector of our country is expected to grow at a compounded annual growth rate of 13%, with an increase in the net disposable income of the consumers by the year 2025. The scope of retail sector is quite good. The main segment of retail sector that currently retail sector may mostly focusing is apparels, consumer goods, as well as food and other sectors. The government scheme that is 100, the government has allowed 100% FDI in the retail sector. Because of it, it is attracting foreign individuals to come to India and attract. Apart from that, a company can say that, or apart from that, the retail sector, there has been a shift in the online as well. But now talking about the ratios and comparisons of both the sector, the return on investment on retail sector has been around 12%, and for hospitality it is 23%, which is quite nice considering that these ratios are based on the industry average of the last 5 years. The retention rate of the consumers had been around 63% for the retail sector and 66% for the hospitality sector. The compound annual growth rate has been pretty much explained in the during the explanations. Now, retail industry, the sales. Soil, can you please stop? Yeah, the sales of the retail industry is expected to grow around 4.5% in the year 2029, and interest on the borrowings is expected to go less. Now, talking about the industrial outlay for setting up, what we are planning to go is what our company is planning is we will basically lease out the rent, therefore reducing our construction cost. Therefore, in setting up one hotel, it will cost around 75 crores because land is on lease, and the only cost we are having is construction cost. And for a retail chain, we will have an amount of 59.18 crores. Now, Sohail, would you like to do the geographical part?
You'll have
talking about
left, so yeah.
Yeah, cool. So talking about some of the areas that we have chosen, for example, all these areas are pretty good for establishing in any sector that we would like to venture on. For example, if we take the case of Alua, where they're expecting a gift city coming up, there's a project that is happening under Greater Kochi Development. So we can actually tap with Alua being a town that is very close to the airport and in proximity to Ernakulam, which is already a hub, and an IT hub coming up. We have potential for the health sector, hospitality sector, as well as the retail sector, and it's the same case for the
participants. You have 20 seconds left. Please wrap up.
Yeah, I think we are done. We are open to questions right now. This is just a locality analysis that we are given.
Kashi, go ahead.
All right. So you guys said there are certainly some benefits to retail or hospitality. I think the one thing that we did not hear was which one is more feasible right now as a plan. Is it the hospitality sector given the huge growth rate? However, the investments would be higher. The risk is definitely higher. What exactly is the recommendation or the recommended path right now? Retail or hospitality?
Yes, ma'am. What we would recommend is both have their own advantages. Talking about the retail sector, we need to plan on what aspect of retail we are focusing on. For example, in the organized retail sector in India, most of them are doing 38% of them are in clothing, and apparels have the most margin. But as the CXOs, we suggest that we move on to the hospitality sector because that has the most projections, and we are expecting a large inflow of tourists in the coming years. So as I said, in 2029, we are expecting around 3.5 million tourists to come, and it's going to be a 35 trillion market. So tapping
Okay.
into that, having the first mover advantage, I think we should move into the hospitality sector.
Got it. So just a small follow-up question, Aaron, you can take over after that. Just one small follow-up question on that was, since hospitality sector is the recommended path, and you said that we'd be going with the leasing model. Have the interests on these leases been accounted for? Can you also explain a little bit about whether the asset is going to come to us at the end of the leasing period, or it's going to be just like an operational lease? What exactly is the leasing model over there?
Yeah, ma'am.
And
As
who has the control of the asset?
Yes,
ma'am, the leasing period will be basically there will be a leasing period for 15 years, and after that, based on the projection and the revenue which we will generate, we will go for the purchase of the land as well.
Okay. A question I had was on your marketing. I don't think you've detailed that very much. Could you please tell us your strategy and why it's different?
Judges, we have 1 minute of rebuttal time left.
If I could take up that question.
Yeah.
Regarding the marketing, it is going to be very localized because each of these areas, as we have given in the locality analysis, is different. Like the consumer target is different, what all are present is different. So we'll be having localized marketing based on, for example, if it is a racecourse road in Coimbatore, we have a rich housing community. There are a lot of simple people. So we'll be focusing on that kind of people. And Coimbatore being a hub that is a border between Kerala and Tamil Nadu, that is where we'll be focusing on the major aspect of marketing when it comes to the hospitality sector.
Sir, so basically our marketing strategies will differ according to the places.
And
Yes.
what channels would you use to market?
Sir, major channels which we will use is number one, it's mouth to mouth. Apart from that, we will have social media marketing, and also print ads.
Okay.
Yeah, a lot of will be targeted TV ads as well because we are going on a very large scale project. So in order to cater to the Indian masses, especially to make it relatable, we'll have a lot of TV ads as well, announcing the coming of the project.
Also, to sir add on, we will also give commissions to local brokers like travel agents.
Participants, we have exhausted our rebuttal time. Have you completed your response?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Judges, any other
Thank you.
questions?
No, that's all. Thank you.
Thank
you. Welcome panel. We are here to expand our horizons, and this is our objective for this presentation. The aspects: first, which sector should we expand into; second, which location should we expand into; and three, what are our projections? What can we do to differentiate ourselves? First, in terms of sectoral analysis, we have set out 4 metrics. First is market congestion. How many players are there in this market and how easy is it for us to penetrate? Second, demand levels. Though this does generally differ on the basis of location, we do understand that there's a general change in demand levels between hospitality as well as retail. Thirdly, what is the growth potential? We understand that moving into this new sector is going to make us make this a part of our brand identity. So we need to understand whether or not this sector has the potential to grow and do we have the space to grow, right? Lastly, synergy. As we have been a well-established company, we do have certain core competencies, like the ability to build pools per se, right? How exactly can we use that and leverage that and bring about some synergies? Now, our 2 options at hand are retail and hospitality. Before we move into a direct comparison, we would like to explain some exclusive benefits. Retail, we believe, has a degree of flexibility. It cannot just be like a mall. It can also be a mall and entertainment center. You can integrate sports and many other aspects. It is season agnostic. People want to go to retail outlets all around the year. Given that the pandemic has been downgraded from a pandemic, we think the world is opening up, right? Lastly, and this is an update given to us. Thirdly, it is brand agnostic because we don't necessarily think that the brand name associated with a particular mall is as important as the brand name associated with a hotel. Hospitality has a general higher demand, and there are many untapped markets, and we think there is a general government support to the tourism industry. But what is our decision matrix, right? We have taken these 4 criteria and given each vertical a score out of 5. We recognize that retail has a higher demand, and though hospitality has a surer demand, we think that we have the potential to generate more demand because individuals who go into malls are specifically people with disposable income and IT workers. We think that there's a lot of that in our country. We think profitability is just much higher in retail. We will get into that soon. Thirdly, we think that potential for retail to grow is much higher because of the flexibility. And we think, however, we think that we have a lot more synergy with hospitality. Despite this, we believe that retail is the best chance to do it, and that is why we think we need to expand into the retail sector. What are the ideal locational features that we are looking for? We need a large number of footfall because we are a shopping outlet. We need people and this footfall needs to have a significant disposable outcome. We need to be in a location which doesn't give us a lot of competitors. So Bangalore and Bombay and out of the picture. We also have we are also looking to focus towards sustainability because that's a good industry standard. Brand interest and landscaping are secondary ventures, but we think the location we have chosen has given us a quite fair locational benefit. Our recommendation, as previously stated, is detail unit on the 3 key metrics, and our locational decision tree has led us from our multiple choices towards Chennai in GST Road. Why do we think so? We think Bangalore is a concentrated market. We think Kochi is a market which already has a major mall and it has shown historically low growth. Coimbatore, we think, is incredibly expensive, especially the area that was given to us. The per square feet rate is incredibly high, and the population is often surrounded by mills and textile units. So we don't think they're going to be shopping from a mall. Lastly, we think Vizag.
You have 20 seconds left. Please wrap up.
Right. So our marketing plan is quite is simply based on our experience. Necessarily, what is the experience? How can we tie into the Chennai identity? And how exactly are we going to sell ourselves? Lastly, we would like to look at our revenue projections. We recognize that even in terms of profitability, retail works out a lot better than us. The drivers we use in this industry is the CAGR of the industry growth, the kind of revenue potential that has historically been given to us, and what the general industry value and the government support for each industry is. For shrinkage, we have accounted for the same only in terms of hospitality because that, given this time in the timeline, we think that is the way to go. You can
participant.
Yeah.
Your 3 minutes of rebuttal time starts now.
All right, Aaron, you want to take this first?
Okay. With respect, could you please go back to your presentation?
Definitely.
Also, do you have a teammate here?
No, I will be the only presenter for this round, sir.
Understood. So could you please touch on a bit with the marketing channels you plan to use with respect to
Definitely.
Chennai?
So given there are 4 key marketing messages that we want to push, given the location of Chennai, right? We think Chennai people are myself included, are very, very passionate about their identity as Tamilians and identity as Chennaiites. We think we would like to make that our biggest brand push. We divide this into 3 categories. First is brand, second is experiences, and third is cinema. We think there are a lot of homegrown and local brands, and we hope to balance this with international brands like Popeye or like California Burrito. These large brands which haven't necessarily penetrated the Chennai market yet. So this is the brand balance we are looking to build. In addition to that, we want to push cinema and sports experiences heavily through our internal events. And we think that is what is going to draw the crowd in, especially an IT crowd, right? Our marketing plan is 5-fold. We intend to begin by pushing our experiences. We intend to open the mall with the opening of a Palaivar Rajinikanth movie.
Okay.
I think this is...
No, got it. Thanks for that. Given the interest of time, I'd defer to Prachi.
Definitely.
All right. Just if you could go keep to the presentation, you had a decision matrix. If you could go to that. Yes. In this, is this in a point, I mean, what is the basis of this? Is this over a period of time? If that's the case, how long is that?
Okay, so we have looked at historical data and industry projections. So the time that we're looking at is around 5 years. How exactly we think this industry is going to lead, or where is it heading, right?
Okay.
So the only place where we see hospitality winning is synergy, because we are already a office building company. We do have some, and a residential company. We do have some ideas on what rooms should look like and what amenities need to exist. However, despite this winning on one metric, we think the other 3 metrics, retail clearly takes it over, right? Which is why we think that it is, especially in terms of profitability, we have been extremely conservative. Even then, we think retail is worth venturing into.
All right, Srinidhi. I just...
Judges, we have 1 minute of rebuttal time left.
I will interrupt you here, and I will say that I am a little skeptical about the fact that profitability for retail and hospitality has been given the same rating, simply because of the fact that retail has much lower margins compared to hospitality sectors. Yes, the risks are lower, but that is also, with that comes lower margins. So I am not really sure on what basis the same kind of score has been given to hospitality and retail, because if you're looking at the same time period, that is say 3 years or 5 years, you will have to have a much higher volume of transactions in the retail sector to match the profitability of hospitality.
Understood.
One second, Srinidhi.
Yeah.
Just adding on to that, where are your capital investment costs out here?
So we plan to derive. I'm so sorry. There's a little. Sorry. Yeah, we plan to derive a majority of our investments from our own reserves. Considering that we are developers, we have acquired this land, and as a board,
that's fine. But in this projection, where are the capital investment costs?
So we believe that the planning for capital investment shall begin only after we zero on a project. But besides that, we think our capital investment is largely going to be internal, because we do have the funds from our excellent spaces of retail housing as well.
So you wrap up. We have exhausted our rebuttal time.
You haven't budgeted for capital investment costs in this.
We have, sir, because we do believe we have internal investing capacity for this.
No, that's fine. But
that's not the cost. Srinidhi,
Right.
What he's saying is you have the funds. There's a cost associated to the fund. That cost of fund has not been considered.
Also the funding.
Sir, we do have finance costs, sir. So if you look at it, we have accounted for a 0.5, we have accounted for a increase in our finance costs as we move forward. You can look at our expenses statement. It's around 27 lakhs almost, right? So 2,734 lakhs almost, right? And we have accounted for the increase in the capital investment costs with our finance costs. This actually also answers your question, ma'am. We do recognize that the margins are much thinner, but we think that for this particular market, there is a lot more potential within the retail space. And even if the margins are thinner, we think that given the situation the world is in right now, there is a much slower growth rate for the hospitality industry and much larger brand value
Understood.
in the hospitality industry.
Sorry to cut you off. Just 2 closing points. good presentation, but the fact of the matter is that when you're looking at capital investment on projects, as
Yes.
you de-lever the project over time, once organic cash flows start occurring, your finance cost should technically fall and not rise because you don't have you're deleveraging it, so your interest costs on that reduce. The second thing is retail also is not entirely season agnostic.
Yeah, we
So-
recognize that. Yeah.
Okay, no, because you had mentioned it as a second bullet in favor of retail.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, yeah,
All right. Am I allowed to make this closing statement?
yeah. Keep it short though.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, we definitely very much appreciate your inputs. We hope to take this into account in our future predictions. And additionally, we would still like to maintain the fact that on a margin, we still think we should go for retail because that's just the right market and that's just the right time for us. Regardless, we hope you enjoyed our presentation. Thank you very much. Have a nice day.
Yeah, thank you, Srinidhi.
Thank you.
Natika?
Yeah, I'll take it. Can you hear me?
Yep,
Am
we
I
can hear
audible?
you. Yep.
Yeah, okay. So, a respected board of directors. So, basically, we have to present a comparison between your choice that you have to make between retail sector or the hospitality sector. Looking at the current returns and the growing expansion, this is a predicted investment and returns that we have come across. That is, if we invest 50 crores initially in the retail sector, the expected returns at least from 2025 will be 10.5%, and so on as a timeline.
Radhika, sorry to interrupt you. Christina, could you please mute yourself? There's a bit of a reverb.
Okay, yeah, sorry.
So, go ahead.
Okay. Now, the next, just present the slides. Yeah, the next slide. And this is for the hospitality sector. Comparison to the retail sector, the hospitality sector is kind of slow and is currently shrinking because of the COVID. But as we are assuming that COVID is no longer this thing, so the predicted returns from this sector initially will be 6 to 7%, which might potentially increase to 12% by the gestation period of 4 years. The next slide. Okay, the basic comparison here is growth, saturation, gestation, and current return. We have already presented. So currently, as per the National Report for Investment and Returns, the expected growth for retail sector is about 1.75 trillion by 2026, which is quite okay. And for the hospitality sector is around 6.8 billion by 2025. The saturation in retail is comparatively more than hospitality, and the gestation period in hospitality is kind of more compared to retail sector. The current returns is comparatively higher in retail than hospitality. The next slide, please. Okay, this is the estimated cost and income that we might incur depending on the cities and the cost of construction. So for Bangalore, I'm really not going to read all these numbers because it's quite explainable itself. And for the income, we have taken cost plus the incremental profit that we might potentially acquire as we go on investing and doing construction on these sites. Can we move to the next slide? This is the Porter's 5-force model, which is basically an analysis of what will happen if we invest either in retail or hospitality. So we both, as we all know, the retail have kind of more saturated because of multiple players compared to hospitality. So it's a little more competitive. Compared to barriers of entries, the barrier is kind of high in retail again because it's going to be difficult for us to penetrate compared to hospitality. And the bargaining power is comparatively less in retail and very high in hospitality, and so on and so forth. Can you move to the next slide, please? And this is basically a pestle analysis of this about a decision that we might potentially take upon. Can you move to the next slide? Okay, this is the marketing strategies. So in case we are going for the hospitality sector, we can partnership with Trivago or Hotel or any other leading websites who can potentially market our hotels. And for retail sectors, we can, we can possibly try the banners and hoarders and all the possible marketing strategies. That's all for presentation. We are open to questions.
All right, your 3 minutes of rebuttal time starts now.
Arvind, you want to go first?
Yes, sorry about that. Can you please just go to your financials for a quick second?
Yep.
Yeah, well, so just to ask you, how did you come up with these plus 35?
So these are the, yes, it's basically an average of, because we have the specified given areas of each cities we'll be targeting upon. So if we go and research about basic construction costs, so this is what we come across. And if we go to the retail costs, then approximately this much percentage of increment is what the retailers is usually selling upon. So we come up with these numbers basically by Googling these specific areas and its construction costs.
Okay. Prachi, go ahead, then I'll take a look there.
Yeah, so just to continue upon this, this looks more like a cost plus model. Clearly, the business isn't going to work on a cost plus model. It's going to work on as a normal business income and cost model. And I just wanted to ask, what is the projected break-even for retail and hospitality?
I'm so sorry, your voice is breaking. Can you just repeat the question?
My question was, when are we looking at break-even for retail and hospitality?
For the year, I would say for the break-even for retail would be kind of earlier than the gestation, because the gestation period in hospitality is comparatively longer. So I would say we might actually reach the break-even by the third year in the retail sector, but would take actually to fourth year in the hospitality sector.
You also spoke of sorry, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Also, you spoke about the investment of 50 crores. How is that being financed?
Okay, about the financials, our company is kind of doing pretty well. We have already sort of spread on.
Participants, sorry to interrupt. Can those who are not speaking please mute? There is an echo in the meet. The other teammate as well who is not answering, can you please mute when you're not speaking? Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, can I continue?
Yeah, you may continue.
Yes, so basically we have already established a real estate and housing company, as well as we have spread upon the other commercial listing, or we can take up loans and connect partnership and other methods. We can actually go on and list our company and issue an IPO, because we have already in the market for 5 to 6 years, and going for IPO will not be a difficult task as of now because of reputation we have.
Judges, we have 1 minute of rebuttal time left.
Yeah, understood. Christine, to ask you, what are your thoughts on this? And if there's an IPO, as your colleague says, is it of the whole business? Is it a part of the business? And what factors would you consider?
Okay, so just like my teammate just mentioned, my partner just mentioned, we have penetrated the market pretty well, and we do have established services in the retail as well as in the commercial commercial area. So definitely, issuing an IPO would be beneficial to us, would help finance us in the long term. And it would also just create a better image for our company, considering that it is, it shows that we are expanding and we are growing. And hopefully that will also gain the trust of our customers.
Prachi, any question?
Yeah, so on the follow-up with the IPO, again, like Aaron said, first question was, would that be a part of just the retail sector or the entire company going up for IPO? If it is just the retail sector, what makes you think that people would want to invest at a premium, considering that the company is still about 3 to 4 years away from making its profit? Why would people invest in such an opportunity?
To answer this question,
one second. Just to bolt onto that, Indian investors have enough real estate companies to invest in. What makes yours special? And I'd like Christine to answer this question.
Okay. So first thing first, I think that we should actually raise an IPO for the entire company as itself, because we do have an established goodwill for the firm. Like I said before, we have penetrated into different markets, and this again just shows that we are doing well. As to the second aspect, we have so in terms of our unique selling point, we are an Indian-based company that has grown so much expansively within just a period of 3 years. We have expanded from Bangalore to across India. We have come to Maharashtra now and looking into the southern states. And now another aspect is we are known for our kind of a production model that kind of brings together ecological sustainability and at the same time economic sustainability. And another aspect that I feel is that we have proved to our customers that we have consistently brought back good returns for them. And as seen before you, this is a sector, not just the retail, but the entire real estate is expected to give good returns to them. And we are a company that has a vision that we will give the best returns to our investors. And yep, I think that's how I would end.
Thank you, participant. We have exhausted our rebuttal time. You may leave the table now.
Thank you.
as the main focus would be a 3-tier recruitment. So we'll have a 3-tier recruitment for the lower level, middle level, and higher level of employees which we require for the venture. So our lower level basically consists of people like who will be catering to all the guests and so on. And the middle level basically have managers, and at the top level we have people who will be taking the decisions. And further we'll be having a referral program. We already have a set of employees who are working in our organization, and they portray a brand image or brand value of our company to others. So if they can get in certain amount of people whom they know who will be a potential asset to our company into our program, we'll be having a referral program where they'll also get in points which they can redeem further in the working process. And going next slide, please.
Okay, I just want to know what you mean by untarnished talent.
Okay, sir. So addressing that, sir, looking at the current scenario in the hospitality sector, sir, if you look at a lot of people, sir, they're not able to access good quality education for, let's say, hotel management course, sir. A lot of people are not able to access good quality education. They, like, most of them don't graduate from this top level hotel management schools, but they are graduating from normal schools across the Bangalore. But they also portray and can give us, our company, a very huge amount of talent pool. So
Okay,
we look forward to.
Do you know what untarnished means?
Yes, sir. We're aware of the fact that it sounds a little bit shaky, but what my colleague is trying to say is
shaky. It doesn't sound shaky. You're saying untarnished means unspoiled. So what do you mean, like people who graduate from good colleges?
no. All right. So what my colleague exactly meant to say was we're basically widening our scope. We aren't limiting ourselves to like A grade A schools or like tier 1 schools. We will have our selection process throughout various schools and various avenues.
So you're basically tarnishing your talent pool.
No, so like what we want to portray to this is that we want to make sure that the person is sound with their knowledge of the industry and they're actually passionate about what they do, rather than just targeting just going for the A-level schools and tier 1 schools. We want to make sure we get the right passionate employees.
And looking at the technological part, so we'll be having a preset metric.
Move on to your next slide. You have limited time. You have to get through your slides.
I'll just quickly pan through the training and development. We'll have management games which simulate business scenarios, team exercises, role-playing games, friendly competition among employees, case studies and lectures. And next slide is an employee metric.
Okay, sir. Coming to an employee metric, so we'll be having a preset metric. So these are basic criteria which we have for what kind of employees we're looking to hire. So these are the few 6 preset metrics, and we'll have an application tracking system or ATS from a company called Incilius. Like, that's a company which we look forward to target or working with. So we'll have an ATS customizedly designed for us, so that that caters to each and every metric of these. So our form or whatever they can portray into an initial input to our company should cater to all 6 criteria.
And adding on, this is basically the predictive analysis software that we're using. This will be integrated with all our HR software, so that it has seamless integration when we update our database. Are there any necessary changes that have been made?
Cool.
Employee engagement strategies.
Okay, so coming to employee engagement, I would like to only focus on personalized schedules, sir. So basically, if you look at hospitality sector currently, sir, the people working in the lowest level, like basically they are mainly considering 60% of women and 40% of male population. So this 60% of women face high amount of issues while they work in night shifts, or they face huge amount of issues when they are working at some particular time and they need few amount of customization to their schedule. So we give them that offer to customize the schedule according to that, so we can also make the schedule accordingly. Next slide. Okay, sir. Now, boosting employee morale. Working in an organization back to back, same 3 to 5 or 8-9 hour job can get monotonous. So we have a very important thing called 1v1. So 1v1 basically is a project or a kind of thing which we want to start in our company, where an employee can have a 1v1 conversation with his person, or every person has a role model in an organization, and they look forward to become like them at some point of time in their working. So they can have a 1v1 conversation at some period of time to boost their morale. And another thing, we united we stand and divided we fall. In an organization, it's very essential for all of us to stand together. So we'll make sure that they understand and embrace the point that they have to stand together for the working of an organization. And these are some very basic HR policies which we look forward to have in place. Yeah, so this is our salary structure. So we have divided the number of employees, and this is the salary structure which we have made for them. Next slide.
Once again, go back to the salary structure.
Since we have limited amount of time, we're just going to skim through these slides. Can we come back to them during rebuttal?
Okay.
All right, cool. Thank you, sir. These are basic work culture policies in place. Next we have the Zenua plan.
Okay, sir. So these are basically another.
Go to your predictive model.
Just go back.
Go to your predictive model. Structure is fine. Go to your predictive model.
Okay, so this is a performance appraisal system, so which we have in place for what kind of thing or what we want to do in our place in our organization. So we'll be having performance indexes and a lot of feedbacks, and so that we can get each and every person's metrics as well.
So I assume you're talking about the employee metric feature that we addressed earlier.
No, I'm talking about the predictive model related to your hiring structure.
Yes, sir. This is basically the predictive analysis. The tech would go hand in hand with the metric. So essentially, we intend to have those metrics as a basic structure for.
But you don't have metrics about people who you haven't hired yet, right? Like how are you gonna employ a predictive model for hiring in that case?
Okay, sir. So that would basically be our. Can you give me? Yeah, this is basically the employee metric.
Slides all the time. Just answer my question.
Yes, sir. So this is the employee. I just wanted to get through that slide. I'm really sorry. So we have an employee metric in place, sir. So these are the 6 basic criteria which we look forward for a while before hiring. So this is
my question is, you do not possess metrics of people that you haven't hired or who aren't on your system.
Yes, sir.
How is your predictive model going to help you in hiring them?
So if I can answer that. So basically, sir, it is pretty unfeasible for us to have an extensive database of our potential applicants. What this basically does is consolidate the applications that we have received in the past, people who rejected, and people who've reapplied and people who are currently applied. Basically, what this does is it consolidates it and sorts it out for us to easily address the ones who are at a higher priority.
So your database is primarily powered by people who've already applied before and reapplied and probably got rejected and have reapplied over and over.
So it's constantly updated based on the number of applicants, the people who've connected with us.
Correct. Exactly.
Shared their resume with us.
Your database is based or powered purely by people who have applied to you.
So that is one aspect of our database. So another aspect basically the people who are working with us. So we have our top level. So our organization will have a point rating system. So where our whole organization will be classified into 3 groups, which will be alpha, beta, and gamma. Alpha we will be giving.
Hold on, please. It's question simple. How do you get this data? Right now, you're going to have managerial ability. How do you measure managerial ability of someone who you haven't hired? What is your test? How are you going to know this? How are you going to measure this?
So
how would you know what his communication ability is? Like what level is it at?
I like to relate to a personal example. So manager ability. So like I had been to an SSB interview where I cleared. So the kind of test which I had over there of STAT, thematic appreciation test.
Sorry. You're the CHRO of Maximus.
Yes, sir. So
are you leaving Maximus for HSBC? What is happening to you?
Not HSBC, sir. I had been in my college days to an interview, sir. So there I had few psychological tests. So I look forward to implement them over here because those tests had preset metrics and they're approved and applied all over the world for any organization. So let's say thematic appreciation test. Sir. So
go to your salary structure.
Yes, sir.
Chris, any comments on top level management basic salary?
Sir, that's basically looking at the current trend of the industry. So the trend of top level management basically will consider of the managers or the top level of HR director and so on. So and the basic trend in the salary is somewhere to 75 to 98,000 rupees. So we're taking average salary.
Where are you getting this data point from?
So
what is the source of this data point?
So it is Naukri.com and so on. So like these are the basic current industry standards which have been set.
These are the industry averages
based on which industry?
So it's for the hospitality industry, sir.
Hospitality. So you're telling me that
yeah, sorry, go ahead.
So you're telling me for the hospitality industry right now, for a top level management employee, his basic salary starts at 55,000.
So that's for the person who is starting out, sir. We're not trying to get in people who are already experienced.
Please tell me who starts out at top level management.
Sir, let me give an example, sir. So we can either have 2 kind of people working in top management, sir. We are going for
once again. Let's assume that a specific skilled employee is. Let's take his career trajectory, right? And you are employing 65 people. So that is the biggest talent pool that you're employing. right? So clearly, these are very basic level skilled employees that you're employing and who have tons of hours to get into the top management, right?
Yes, sir. Over the course of
if you take a CAGR of say 7.5% and do that over 10 years, they would still be earning more than a basic salary of top management.
So the basic salary is for the initial starting out period, right, sir? And over the course of period, they'll get bonuses, they'll get increments, right? So
plus HRA, what do you think is the component for HRA in a salary? It's 50% of basic salary, right?
Yes,
there the number is wrong. Your PF value, how much percentage have you taken as a PF value?
Sir, we are taken somewhere near 7.8%.
7
to 8%.
Yes, sir.
So this is contributed primarily by the employee or by you?
So it's a joint contribution, sir. Like pension fund is basically contributed from the employer, sir. But as looking from our end, also we'll have some contributions.
You're wrong. You have equal contribution from the employee and the employer in the PF.
So like that was existing in the previous period, right? So now looking at the new norms, it's changing a lot. So in the private sector, it's not necessary that it should be equal contribution, right?
And what do you define by DA? Direct allowance?
Dearness allowance, sir.
Dearness allowance.
Yes,
okay.
Sir.
What did you use as a base to arrive at that figure?
So
what did you use as a base to arrive at that figure? How did you get that figure there?
So all the complete salary structure, so it's basically made
fixed percentage.
Please tell me where what is this maintenance staff expenses and in which era are employed maintenance staff only earning 7.5 thousand in India, especially in the hospitality sector?
So these aren't full-time jobs. These aren't full-time jobs as well. These are part-time. These are contractual basis.
Maintenance staff are not full-time. You know,
we do have full-time maintenance staff as well, but the ones in this figure right now are the part-time and the contractual based
maintenance staff.
So where's the figure for the full-time employees then?
So that would come under the skills specific and the alpha, beta, gamma
and the top management.
So, sir, I'm sorry we couldn't elaborate on alpha, beta, gamma during our presentation. That's basically a tier-wise division of the employees belonging to these categories. We grouped a particular section of jobs under alpha, particular under beta, and particular under gamma for easier classification.
One quick tip: when you present industry averages, you don't take industry average for a salary. You take the industry median. You're not looking at mean, you're looking at a median, and the median is definitely much higher than this.
Sure, sir. We'll
so you had mentioned a three-tier recruitment system, right, in the first slide. How would that differentiate in the 3 tiers? So how would it in the tier 1, tier 2, and tier 3? How would it be different with each other?
Okay, sir. So let's say for in tier 1, so that's based in 3 tier, the lowest tier basically the employees will be working in cleaning or undertaking all the maintenance activities. So they will not require any amount of major amount of skills. So for them, recruitment strategies basically will be: are they capable enough of medical checkup or their background checks, like have they indulged in any criminal activities? So we require only that amount of checks for them. But when we come up to the middle level, where we'll have people who will be directly interacting with our valuable customers. So we require for them to have basic etiquettes, basic communication skills, the way they handle with people. So we look forward to look at those aspects. And when we come to the top level, they'll have a rigorous selection process.
Go to your training and development slide.
Judges, I'm sorry to interrupt, but it's been around 10 minutes. Could you close with this question?
Sure. Okay. Yeah. So your training and development are not really like training and development for an hospitality sector. Like, why are you gonna run them through case studies and lectures in our training and development for the hospitality sector?
So this is basically for the top level management, sir. So our top level of management should know at a point of crisis.
Screw the top level management. Your top level management is all about making sure that the business is running. Your business is actually run by your mid-level and lower-level employees. There's no training and development for them or what?
Okay, sir, answering that question, sir, let's say a manager is there in our organization and we need to give him case studies and lectures for the reason being, let's say...
Listen, you're not answering my question. I think we are short of time also, so we'll just close with this.
Giving a closing statement, sir, it's essential for catering to each and every organizations, each and every level. Sir. So for managers, we need to give them case studies because there can be situations which arise in future where they need to know what they have to do, sir. And if we give them case studies, they'll know, oh, I've answered such particular situation before in our training. So they'll know what to hack and how to act on that.
So we just want to maintain a healthy balance.
Stop. I'm just going to make my own closing statement. They became managers because they've gone through and solved a lot of problems anyway. You don't need to get them through more case studies. You just I mean, like that shouldn't be your focus in terms of training and development for an hospitality organization. Rather, it's more about how to face customers, how to deal with them. That's more relevant. Like the top level management are already coming from B schools, they've had enough case studies to deal with. Anyway, we'll close with that. Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you so much.
skills are tested, but also how they can manage the work. So here we will basically create a gamification of tasks through which they will be able to they will be given a lot of tasks and they'll have to manage them together, and that is one system through which we want to recruit people. Is that clear? Can I move?
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So under training and development of workplace, we're having activity workshops and simulations of rush hour experiences and simulations of stress hours, which are basically similar to the gamification that we saw in the recruitment place, but a more standard version where we will have guides and supports. In workplace, we will have quick tasks. We'll also establish a mentor-mentee system where they will get guidance and support constantly. Additional training will be provided through competency workshops and online resources that they have access to.
Why do you have Inception as a training and development policy, like simulations of simulations? Like what does that even mean?
I'm sorry. So that was actually simulations of stress management.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Yes, I apologize for the error. So we do encourage a lot of productivity inside the organization, and for that we have something called Pomodoro Go. So under our management, we believe in gamifying the process so that it's much more interesting for our employees. So under this, they will have a Pomodoro sheet. A Pomodoro is basically 25 minutes of productive work plus 5 minutes of rest. So that is one Pomodoro. So when one employee, so all employees are given a particular sheet where they need to fill their productive hours. So for example, if I spend 25 minutes on doing a particular task and 5 minutes for my rest, I can record that with attested proof. So we believe that this will help the employees keep a constant check on how their performance is and how they have been in their workplace. And this will also help us with our reviews. So this will also be connected to awards for productivity. And to increase the competition, we'll also allot peer groups under which this Pomodoro productivity will happen. So you will also be rewarded for your peers' productivity, not just yours. So under this, we're focusing on personal development, self-improvement, and we also encourage them to take forward this habit as a general habit, not just during the workplace.
Okay, hold on.
For ethical policies.
Excuse me, hold on the Pomodoro front. Like, what level of micromanagement do you want to introduce into this entire organization? Just tell me that. Because if I have to fill
so this is not.
Hear me out. If I have to fill in a timesheet every 25 minutes about what I've been doing, I'm going to lose my mind in the first week.
So, sir, it is not every 25 minutes. You can just take about 1 minute to fill up the sheet by the end of your day. And it needn't exactly be like strictly about, okay, this 25 minutes I did this. It could be 1 hour, so that is 2 Pomodoros of cooking, or say 2 Pomodoros of managing task A with attested proof. So it is also easy for us to refer to these tasks and the results.
But so this would be across all employees?
Sir, majorly the middle level. That's what we're targeting these at.
What exactly are your
mid-level?
Are your employees at the mid-level? Please define those. Because you said, okay, if it's going to be 1 hour of cooking, then I'm not sure what else a chef really does apart from cooking and cleaning the kitchen. So it's just cooking, cleaning.
So, sir, again, here, as I said, this is not just about the tasks. It's also about the personal learning. So even if the check goes back, it is a very it's a very friendly system. It's not like completely strictly followed. It's a system that promotes productivity that we want to try and implement here.
Let me just ask you a question. What would a chef learn while he's cooking every 25 minutes for him to fill in the sheet?
You hire a chef because he's an expert, right? Like that's the idea.
What are you expecting him to learn while he's cooking?
Especially on a 25 minutes or even on an hourly basis. He's like, oh shit. Sorry. He's like, oh, maybe I should have put 10 grams less of chili. What are you looking to achieve?
So that is not.
What are you looking to achieve through this process?
We believe that this will help with increasing the time that people spend in their tasks. So you know how we kind of have a lot of gaps in between these tasks. So we want to try and minimize those for them, which increases productivity.
You said increase the time. Do you mean increase time or increase efficiency?
Increase efficiency.
Okay, cool. I'm giving the answers now. You're mentioning there's some disconnect here because you're mentioning peer groups where awards are linked to your peers' performance. At the same time, you want to create a competitive environment. So each person is competing with themselves. At the same time, they're supposed to help others. Don't you think that's
they're not helping others, sir. So as in peer groups, basically it creates a sense of responsibility. So even if I'm not productivity, I know that my peer group is also affected, not just me. So the awards that I get are also affected, and the awards that my peer group gets as a total is also affected. And they have incentives based on these.
Okay, all right. Just move on to your next slide. I guess just move on to your predictive model. Ethical policies does not.
One second. Hold on. What? Could you just go back to ethical policies? What do you mean ethical policies? Yes, shares, lunches, and potluck. Anonymous complaints and messages of appreciation. Okay. What do you mean by the P under shares, lunches, and potluck under ethical policies?
And why do you want to have an ethics manual talking about vision, mission, and objectives? They are not ethics related topics.
Did the presentation close?
They've lost connection, I think. Darpan, are you in the same team? Do you want to answer?
Sir, I think I'm having. Could you please repeat the question? I'm having a lot of network issues.
Under your ethical policies, if you just go to that slide, you have a point. First point would be you have lunches, potluck included there.
Right.
Why is that there, and what does it involve? And the second point is why do you have mission statements included under your ethical policies?
Sir, the mission statement one, we feel that by mentioning our mission vision, they will get a clear goal of what our company intends to do.
But isn't that related to ethics and compliances?
So that is just like an introductory statement of our mission vision, and then we move on to the ethics. Just to give an introduction of what our vision is.
We are purely talking about ethics. Why do you want to bring mission vision over here? Is my question. And plus, even in terms of ethics, you've just put on basically you're like, okay, we'll have a grievance cell where people can come and anonymously complain and people can anonymously appreciate. Grievance cells are known to fail. Nobody goes to them in a lot of the organizations.
So that's why we want to keep it anonymous to respect the anonymity.
That's fair enough. They're supposed to be anonymous, and it's not a policy either.
Yeah, it's just something that you have to do as part of a corporate company structure. You have to have a grievance cell. Like this is an underlying thing.
It's a system which you can use, but as a policy, how do you stand in terms of ethics? What are you against? What do you stand against? This cannot be done.
I think the main ethics is to not promote discrimination, to be completely against discriminatory activities in our hospitalities. So that is the main thing we are featuring on. And to promote unity among everybody, that is why we are going with these shared lunches.
Stop quoting humanitarian policies that are supposed to be in general followed by everybody. Those are not your policies. They are
Judges, I'm sorry to interrupt.
Yeah.
But could we close with one last question? We are running short.
I haven't seen their predictive model, so I mean, I had to question about that.
Let's just see.
Okay.
Do you want to say anything about your predictive model, Darpan? Do you have any clue?
Sir, we had it in our PPT. I'm unable to share it because of.
I think our operations. Anirudh, you have.
Yeah, I have the PPT with me. If you give me a second, I'll share with you.
I mean,
yeah.
Can you go on?
Yeah.
No, the very last one.
This one.
Next one.
Next is just a thank you slide. Okay, you don't have a predictive model. Cool. All right, I think we can just wrap up with that then.
All right, thank you guys. You can leave the meeting now.
our internal structure is functional in nature. We have divided our roles into 3 different categories of departments, which looks like client-facing departments, which would be front office as well.
Move on.
Next slide, please. Next slide, please. Right, so our predictive model, right? Now, I would like to go to 2 slides forward to explain this predictive model. How exactly we appraise our individuals is on a system of metrics that we have come up with. Next slide, please. So how exactly, in the process of this goes from data from human resource information systems, where we have criteria and we assign weight to certain criteria. For example, there will be an engagement rating, productivity rating, disciplinary rating. Now, where do we get this data from? This will be from both customer feedback, which we will be receiving, though we don't understand that is extremely one-dimensional. We will also be taking feedback from officers and people who will be overseeing this candidate. Right now, yeah.
Just to understand, this predictive model of hiring is going to be after you hire the employee?
No, sir. So this is an appraisal model.
I think, guys, they've made it clear that you're not supposed to work on an appraisal model, but more of a predictive model focused on hiring. Apart from that, even if you consider a statistical predictive modeling, the one that you're pitching right now, you clearly do not understand statistics, because here you have a range of 500 different units. Because if you're marking criteria out of 1 to 5 for any basic statistical, any person who knows basic statistics knows that this is something called one-hot encoding, where you're using each as a categorical variable. That means it has to be a whole number. It cannot be 500 individual data points. You're not averaging over here. You're trying to make you're trying to predict a certain outcome here, right?
Yeah, we understand that. So
here it just looks like you're just basically trying to like average out their scores and trying to, come up with, okay, what is the total number that's going to be like highest or lowest?
We don't think the system is as simple as taking your weights and finding a score.
I'm not saying the system is simple. I'm saying that your statistics are wrong.
Well, sir, if you maybe we could provide a little more clarity on how the model works. So which is why we would like to go to the previous slide, please.
I'm sorry, but like what I'm like probably not getting through properly is like statistical models don't work that way for rating systems.
Okay, we understand that, and we would be happy to take in your input to much develop this model.
Do not have time for that.
Your expertise, right? Okay, fine. In the event that we would like to move on, we would like to move on to the next. So our next area that we are exploring is how exactly we deal with equity committees and internal structures and internal planning. So how we think equity is incredibly important, especially in a new organization. And we would like to attack this through like 4 organizations, right? Next slide, please. Next slide. So how our equity structure is designed is with 4, our ethics structure is designed is on 4 different pillars. First would be business standards, diversity and inclusion, grievance cells, as well as stakeholder counseling. Now, this is completely separate from an equity committee, which will act as an internal complaints committee where individuals can complain either anonymously or not. We also have an equity document which we would be circulating to make sure everybody is aware of what protected attributes are and how exactly they must behave around each other.
What do you define as equity here?
So equity would just mean that individuals are treated with a degree of equity, right? In the sense that
that's equality and equanimity. It's not equity.
We would consider equity to even take into consideration a certain degree of privilege.
Please Google the meaning of the word equity.
So not the word.
An organization means the ownership of the organization that a certain person holds, which relates to the shareholding that the person has.
So equity is also a system which is used in sociology to look at your equal treatment while taking into consideration.
This is a corporate organization and this is a business event. It's not a sociological.
Despite a corporate organization, we believe internal committee structures and internal complaints committees do have to respect
sociology. Are driven by sociology?
No, they are driven by humanity, sir. That kind of organization.
Okay, all right.
In that event, we would like to facilitate complaints, which is why we have chosen to call this committee. We have to call this committee equity. But besides that as well, we have 4 different structures to ensure that employees are well taken care of. This also looks like stakeholder counseling, so that there is adequate support provided to everybody.
So when you say stakeholder counseling, do you extend to all the stakeholders in the organization or just your employees?
This is an internal structure, sir, so we will be limiting this to internal stakeholders, which would most often include.
Also, like, what do you mean by business standards over here? That's exactly what we wanted details on. Like, if you're holding the ethics committee, or I mean, I'm just gonna refer equity committee to being an ethics committee. You really haven't shown any policy. Like, what are the ethical policies that you guys stand by as an organization? Because you can say that they are the ones setting out the business standards. What are your business standards? What are
business standards? Our business standards look like performance standards, where we are going to be developing benchmarks for performance.
What are the benchmarks? What are these standards?
Yeah, I mean, like, you're talking about performance standards, but we're looking at ethics over here, right?
Yeah,
those are all business performance.
So name one business standard that would fall under this ethics committee.
Judges, sorry to interrupt, but we have short the time, so I think there's only time for one more question. So if
All
you
right,
could close with that.
Anirudh, going forward, just drop that on the chat. It'll be easier. Otherwise, this just disrupts the entire presentation.
Understood.
Right. Okay.
A business standard off the top of my head for on a purely performance basis would just be the conversion rate of a sales agent.
Not talking about performance here. We're talking about ethics.
Yeah, and
what does that have to do with ethics?
And an ethics standard, we completely recognize that this might have been misplaced, but an ethical standard would be the feedback given to a customer on how exactly they were treated on the.
That doesn't relate to internal ethics standards. You're talking about all external things, that like what customer is an external thing that doesn't.
An internal ethics standard would also look like the degree to which a fellow employee feels comfortable around you. So we understand that might not be able to might not be quantifiably measurable, but we would.
Okay, wait. The degree to which an internal employee will be comfortable around you depends more on the culture. It's not the ethics of the organization. Do you understand that?
But if ethics, or like the ability to maintain a degree of mutual respect is something which is valued by the organization on a fundamental level, we think we can consider that.
Just a second, hold on. Let's just drill it down to the very basics. Ethic is simply moral principles.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's the base of it. So as moral principles, what are your policy for the organization?
As moral principles, we would like the first policy that we would like to push is the policy of equality in treatment. The second we would like to push is the diversity and inclusion. So on a team level, we would like to promote diversity, the number of individuals from different backgrounds. The third thing we would like to promote is just I'm so sorry. The third ethical standard that we would like to promote is the general degree of transparency that is maintained between different command chains.
All right. Okay. Thanks.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. We hope you have a nice day.
Guys, your time's running to start.
Oh, start.
Okay, good evening to the board of directors. So in regards to the email that we have sent, we have actually decided to enforce force majeure and rescind both the contracts. So these are the opportunity cost and the rationale that we have come behind enforcing force majeure. So actually the Karnataka government has increased the FSI rates to 200%. So the FSI premium is actually greater than the cost of demolition. So even if you are rescinding the contract for constructing the 2-story parking space, then we'll have to demolish it. So the cost of demolition will be lesser. So we can actually go for that. Then the extension given to the development project of the software technology will actually increase the cost. And the amortized value is about 2.6 crores in 2 years, and an extension of 1 more year will add to our cost, and we are expecting an increase of 1 more crore in that extension. So the actually return that we are expecting for the technology is 4.5, which will get again amortized in the next 10 years. So during a cost benefit analysis, it is actually riskier for us. So that's it. We are enforcing force majeure.
Also, we are also ensuring post measure, because if we are not ensuring, we are extending our project for more than the time duration, which will impact the market value of our company.
Yeah, and also it is mentioned in the contract with our with the company that we are making the parking space, that they'll give us the cost of construction, the time-to-time construction cost. They'll be reimbursing the time-to-time construction cost, and we are getting around 1.72 crores for 2.5 years. But if we keep on delaying, it will increase our costs, and because of the increase in FSI, that will be that we'll have to take up if at all we are going for the construction. That is why we are not going.
Is this all that you have? Do you have any numerical workings, etc., to show how the numbers play out in both the scenarios?
Well, it was actually given by our financial department in the board. It was actually given by our financial department that the AR tech that we have developed is having a proposed value of about 4.5 crores. So right now the cost of that has come up to 2.6 crores in just 2 years, and they're asking for an extension of 1 more year, which will actually increase our cost. But the problem.
Let's make this simple, right? Let's just come up with a number, right? Have you worked out a number? What happens to your numbers when you choose option 1 vis-a-vis option 2?
So can you repeat?
Just give me a plain number. What happens to your cash flows when you choose option A vis-a-vis option B, right? So just tell me what's the leverage you're talking about. What's the difference that you're talking about between both the options?
Okay, sir.
Yes, sir. If we are not enforcing force majeure, which is option B, we are going for increased cost, right? So we'll have at least an increased cost of 25% increase in our cost in 1 or 2 years in the next coming financial year. So that is why we are going for force majeure.
I'm not sure you put both your contracts in tandem, right? You're just talking about one contract. What happens to your other software development contract? You have to look at both of these together.
Yes, sir. That is why. When
So
we put these together, you go on.
The other software development contract is already outstanding, but this contract is actually impacting our current status.
Exactly.
I'm not sure that's clear. And also, have you factored, elements such as litigation costs, because your client could enter into arbitration, right? Your arbitration costs, along with your arbitration fee and your consulting costs, would go really high, booming in numbers, right? So, have you guys factored all of that? You guys want to take a moment and just come up with a number, looking at both the contracts in tandem, because what you're telling right now is pretty loose, right?
Yes, sir. So, regarding the arbitration of the contract for the construction, according to the clause, it actually goes to the architect first. So if the architect is not satisfied, they can actually cancel the contract. That is their discretion. And regarding the contract for the software development, it is our developer that has actually come forward with the idea of force majeure. So they will comply. So we just have to make sure that the other party also complies, wherein we are the developer and the other person is a client.
You're still not answering our questions, but anyway, Alex, you have questions?
Yeah, guys, I'm going to try and keep this question simple. I'm going to try and keep this question simple, okay? When you say cost of demolition, how much is that?
Okay, sir, the cost
What
of
is your cost of
demolition.
demolition?
Okay, sir. See, like.
And how have you calculated it, okay?
Yeah, Jay, go ahead.
See, as it was pretty mentioned in the logistics and the findings of logistic and financial team, the parent cost of development was 1.72 crore that will be paid for 2.5 years and 2 crores in total for the period of 4 years. It was pretty much mentioned, and considering the litigation cost that sir mentioned, and apart from everything, what the overall expense based on the question as well as the litigation cost that a cooperative is having, we are expecting an amount of loss of around 7.5 or 8 crores.
Is what your cost of demolition is, you're saying?
Yeah.
And that is an agreeable cost in terms of the FSI payment.
Yes, sir.
How have you arrived at that conclusion? What we're asking.
What, sir, I didn't get your question.
How are you fine with losing 8 crores basically?
Sir, we are not
Yeah,
fine
very
with
simple.
losing 8 crore. That's why we are not agreeing to have the contract. We are cancelling the contract.
But you will pay that 2 crores any which way, right?
Yeah. Sir, but if you consider 2 crores with 8 crores, there's a difference of 6 crores.
Will you also be paying for all the development that has happened so far, regardless of 2 crores over and above?
No, sir.
Are you sure about that? Have you read through your development agreement?
Yeah, development agreement says that whatever development we are having, it will be funded by our promisee.
It will be what?
Contract. It'll be I mean, whatever the construction cost, time to time construction cost will be given by the promisee, and they are also promising 2.3 crores in 2 years.
Okay. Are the payment values for set to the development that has occurred so far?
The payment value that we got so far is 1.72.
But how did you get that amount?
Sir, it was mentioned in the question.
Are you sure it's mentioned in the development agreement how much exactly will be the payment values in case of work completed, or is that something you've sort of assumed and estimated?
That is something that we have assumed.
Okay.
According to whatever the current completion is, what we have assumed.
Okay. This is clearly a little bit of lag in terms of you've missed things on the development agreement, and I think you've underestimated how much the actual cost of activating a force majeure in this situation. And because of that, you may have taken a wrong decision here because you might have undercosted. Karan has already mentioned some of the other costs that you have underestimated for besides the core cost of. So based on that, now knowing what I'm telling you, it's in the development agreement. If you want, you can take 30 seconds and look at which clause I am. I'm just asking one question. Would you like to reconsider your decision now knowing that there are costs that you may not have estimated for that might change your decision? Based on that, are you still sticking to your original decision to activate the clause?
Sir, actually, I would like to review with my internal team and then come up with a solution.
Okay, I have no more questions. Thanks, guys.
I think I lost connection between.
All right, sir. Firstly, a very good evening, sir. Now, we understand that a lot of unfortunate event happens, and the entire industry is such that such events such as the earthquake which recently occurred can damage us really bad. Which is why we have a plan of action, and which is why we are now going to see, how our company can get over it. Now, firstly, the plan of action, sir. Now, we have decided to stick to the continuing of both the projects. Now, there is a particular reason for it. Now, why? Because if we drop out from the projects, it's going to be a very temporary benefit that we're going to be getting in terms of monetization. And it's not even temporary benefit to the company as such, because whatever we've invested into the project so far is what we'll be retrieving back. But if we continue to finish the product, so we might expect a little bit of profits from these projects, even though we're not gonna be receiving them in the short term, but in the long term, it's very beneficial for the reputation of the company and for the financial aspect of the company. Now we'll be activating clause 7. Now, which is we'd be requesting for all the money that has been caused, like that's been damaged, for which the damage has been caused. And in case if the second clause is not activated, then in case if there is a dispute between the tender and our company, will be triggering a clause 10, and which after which, sir, we'll be constantly focusing on immediately stabilizing and reconstruction of the site, about which I'll be speaking to you in the next slide. Now we'll be lobbying with Tesseract for reducing the timeline to 6 to 8 months. Now they have asked for another year to develop the entire software and to get the entire project in place. But for us, a period of say a year will be too high, and the max we can stretch this to is going to be 6 to 8 months only. And we're going to be revising the financial targets and extend the time period of construction by 18 months. Now we understand that there has been a lot of damage that has been caused, so we'll have to do a lot of ground level work. And about this I'll be explaining to you in the further slide. And the final date of the delivery of the entire project will be November 2028. Now, this is a phase-wise implementation plan. So we're going to be firstly assessing and analyzing the damage that has been caused at the construction site, and then and what we're going to do is, firstly, we're going to analyze as to how many employees have been damaged, how much land has been disturbed, and based on that, we're going to be creating an entire analysis, and we're going to be seeing as to what are the reconstructions that we have to do, what are the land developments that we have to do, and what are the kind of financial charges we're going to incur. And then we're going to be segregating the demolished material. The answer, we're also not going to stop there. We know, even though this is a loss to us, we're going to be implementing the 3R policy, which is the recycling policy, under which the materials or any equipment that has been demolished due to the earthquake, we'll be trying and recycling them, and we'll be trying to get these things back, so that we can monetarily benefit it in some way. And we're going to be having tier wise development of the entire project, and we will be hoping to get everything running smoothly. Now coming to the waste management, we'll be looking at the entire demolition that has taken place. We'll be getting in touch with the waste management plant, and we'll be trying to get as much recycling done as possible. And then speaking about the committee, now the committee is something that is going to be formed inside our company, which is going to mainly focus. So it's only going to be like a 5-member or a 6-member committee, which is going to work on the entire recycling and the land redevelopment project. Now, speaking about the planning process insidely, we have to now understand that we need to set objectives, because we have been laid back in the project. We were supposed to finish the project in the next few months, and now we are delaying it by another year and a half. So we have to set the right objectives, we have to gather the right data, we have to analyze the data, we have to do all the plans, and we have to monitor and implement them at the right time, so that we can have the entire planning process in place. And we have to ensure that now there are no further delays in the project. Now in the camel plan, we are looking at capitalizing and improving these things in the new project. And lastly, these are the financials. Now the amount in crores. Now we were given 2 crores for construction, but we'll require an additional 90 lakh because of the earthquake. And the software development will remain at 2.6, because clause 4 does say that it's going to remain despite any reason. The cost of the project remains the same, even though our board of directors have estimated it to go higher.
For recycling, we'll be incurring that much of 0.55, that is 55 lakhs of rupees. Land redevelopment will cost us 60 lakh of rupees. Compensation to the workers. A lot of workers have also been injured, and a lot of damage has been done. And a lot of other miscellaneous activities will also require a little bit of funding. And in total, the entire project, which was supposed to be finished in, say, about 5 crore rupees, will now cost us about 7 to 7.5 crores. But concluding, even though the project has incurred a little bit extra time, which is why we have incurred a little bit more of financial costs, I still feel that it's a project that we should go ahead with, because in the long term we can ripe financial benefit from the entire project. Thank you so much, sir. That was Team Maximus for you. I'm open to questions now, sir.
Hi, could you move over to your slide that had the overall plan faction?
Yes,
yeah,
sir.
Here. So here you're talking about an escalation, right? A price escalation because of the increased materials, etc.
Yes,
I
sir.
want to ask you, how tenable do you think that the price escalation is going to be? Majorly so because we're in the year 2024. In the year 2019, Delhi passed a national building code which mandates all construction equipment, all factories and all warehouses and all parking lots to be earthquake proof right from the inception of construction. Any building over the height of 15 meters is mandatorily required to be earthquake proof. So if you do not have that kind of infrastructure in place, and it is totally your fault that you lost materials during the construction, right? So why do you think your client is going to bear the cost of escalation?
All right, sir. So the Act says that at the end of the completion, the entire project needs to be earthquake proof. Now, the problem with our project was that it was still under development, sir. It wasn't fully completed, which is why we couldn't accommodate, or probably it was yeah, so you are right. Probably it was a mistake from our side as well, that we did not look at the earthquake proofing in the beginning of the project, and we thought that this is something that should be done at the end of the project, or at the later or at the ending stages of the project, which is what our architects did suggest us, that we should go for the earthquake proofing at the end of the project. But we did not realize that, and while it was under construction and while it was under development, the earthquake has taken place, and which is why we are incurring increase in the financials because of the demolition, sir.
Okay, Alex, you have questions?
Sorry, sir.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Could
you just review what your recycling policy is and how exactly that changes really anything in your decision-making process, and why it should even be a fact?
So I'm really sorry, sir. I couldn't hear you. Can you come again, sir?
Can you just review for me your materials recycling policy and why that is factoring into your decision at all?
Are you talking about the entire recycling process, sir?
Exactly what I'm talking about.
Yes, sir.
Why is this factoring into your decision at all?
All right, sir. Now, this is something that we're looking into the benefit of the company. We are working towards getting any sort of monetary benefit possible from the wastes that have been accumulated due to the demolition because of the earthquake. Now, what happens is there are a lot of materials which can be used. Now, the entire bricks that have been demolished can be recycled.
How do you know that? How do you know that those materials are reusable? On what basis have you made that assumption?
All right, sir. So as I mentioned, sir, we are going to be engaging with the waste management plan, which is going to be coming to our site and going to look at all the materials. And obviously, sir, when we are redeveloping the land, we'll be clearing out all the demolished waste that has been accumulated. So
this is something that hasn't been accounted for so far, not yet been accounted for, but it's factored somehow into your decision.
No, sir. In the new financials, if I could please go to that slide. I have for the recycling, I have accumulated a financial. I have given a particular.
Estimation, right? Because as you said, you haven't first done the actuals in terms of what could be what could actually be reused. So this is based on an estimation, right?
So initially, this is an estimation, sir. But initially,
so isn't that
we
a
did
dangerous
not
estimation, therefore, to make and then base your decision to stick to a contract on?
No, sir, not at all. Because we are just recycling whatever has been demolished. So this is essentially only going to benefit the company. Whatever we retrieve from this recycling process is only going to benefit the company monetarily. And anyways, if we even if we don't recycle it, even if we don't incur, like even if we remove this entire concept from the entire project, it's going to be of absolutely no use to us, sir, because whatever materials
Okay,
that we're
let me
going to
put
come
it
up.
this way. Let's take out the recycling because it's an estimation, and let's take up the other kind of incomes that we could base our decision on because they are estimations. And let me
Yes,
ask
sir.
you this much: what is the current tangible loss that you have estimated if you're sticking to the project?
Sorry, sir, could you come again, sir? Your voice is
What
breaking
is
a
the
lot.
estimated loss of sticking to the project that you've now based your decision on? Let's take out the recycling and the redevelopment parts of it.
All right, sir. So you're asking how much is Maximus as a company gonna incur because of the entire earthquake and the entire delay?
Yes.
Yeah, sir. If you remove the recycling part of it, the actual budget of the previously the actual budget was about 5 to 5.5 crores, and now it will be somewhere about 6.5 to 7 crores. So we'll be facing a loss of say another crore,
How have you
another
arrived at
one
that amount?
Sorry, sir.
How have you arrived at that amount of 6.5?
So we have arrived at that amount depending on the land. So I'm really sorry, sir. Depending on the land redevelopment cost that we'll be incurring, and depending on also based on the compensation that we'll have to give the injured people, because that is something
Again,
that is
so
going to
based on
complete.
estimate rather
Yeah, so
than
these
based on
are so as of now we are in a state of situation where we can
I'm
estimate
trying to say
things.
that I think you've underestimated these costs of how much you'll have to pay in compensation at this point.
No, sir. I don't really think I've underestimated
Okay,
the
so what
cost.
is your methodology of estimation then?
All right, sir. Sir, so we are analyzing the entire process, and we have experts who are analyzing it for us. And
Okay, so
sir,
they might be using some methodology. What is their methodology of estimation?
I'm really sorry, sir. I'm not aware about the methodology that we've used. But sir,
Then this is a dangerous decision to make if you're not sure how you've calculated your estimates, because you're basically making this decision on a strictly quantitative basis, which is a good thing, by the way, but it's based on quantitative estimates that you're not sure how you arrived at in the first place,
all right, so we have like we are formulating metrics, and we are looking at we are estimating certain costs that we are going to incur. Now these costs are something that like we are which are pretty tangible and which are pretty visible. Like we know for a fact that a lot of the project has been demolished, and the land redevelopment will be required. We've spoken to our architects, and our architects have told us that approximately this is the amount that is going to cost for the entire process.
Okay, I'm good. Thank you.
All right, sir. If there's any other question, I'd like to answer that as well, sir.
I think we're good. We can be done.
All right, sir. Just give me a minute, sir.
can start now.
All right, sir. Thank you so much for your time. Very good afternoon. Essentially, sir, this is how we plan to create our own Apni Dunya with the new prefabricated houses. This is Team Maximus, and in the next 4 minutes, we want to show you how this absolutely new concept is going to revolutionize the entire industry with our strategies. So essentially, sir, these houses at present in our country do not have those many legalities apart from the regular permits. Nikhil, can we?
All right. Am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Hello, sir. When it comes to the legalities of modular homes in India, the first thing that people assume is that the building permits may not be there, may or may not be there for these projects. Well, that is in fact false. That because these homes are actually produced off-site in a particular construction location, and then they're shipped over to these plots where they are installed. So the building permits are only required for the construction. The area where it's constructed and not where it's installed. So building permits will be that way building permits will not be an issue. And the other stigma that comes around legalities is the safety standards. That it may not be that safe, like there may not be enough structural integrity. Well, this has also been addressed with latest technology, which basically uses concrete and not just your basic wooden panels, wooden and glass panels. So basically there is structural reinforcement. So these two basic legalities are tackled.
All right, so essentially, here's how this is our succession plan, or how we make sure that this concept is going to be implemented in a country like ours. So today we live in a country where people prefer living in kacha houses and not in something new, because they do not adapt to change, or do not believe in change. Change is the only constant. So what we want to do is invest in R&D and invest fully in advertising. So we as a country are very religious by nature. So what we want to do is start by placing these container houses in our initial stage in more dharmstals or places of pilgrimage. So these places usually happen like annually or periodically, where people need places of accommodation. So considering the fact that our houses can essentially be portable, at the end of the day, we'll be doing this in a phase-wise manner. And also, like, the way we make sure we garner everyone's trust is by coming up with multiple CSR activities. Now, what multiple CSR activities we are talking about is having, like, giving these houses to the migrants, like essentially branding ourselves as one of the most patriotic company, so that people automatically start trusting us. And also we want to start with providing these houses for the army, NCC, railways, etc. So now railways are already using a similar concept. We want to be the company that ties up with the government and IRCTC and does this on a large scale. And once this is a success, and once our name in the entire country is established, we want to start out by going out with full-fledged houses in Maharashtra. Now, why Maharashtra? That's the biggest housing crisis that we've seen in our country at present. So without any displacement of other individuals, we want to convert these kacha houses into pakka houses using these prefabricated notions. Can we please move on to the next slide? Nikhil, next slide, please. So yeah, sir, how we are going to make people trust us and believe in us and make sure that this company is these houses, these prefabricated houses do not have any stigma behind it. So we want to start with something called as the IRA community. The IRA community, IRA essentially means abundance. Now, why we chose we want to do something called as a personal connect or a cultural marketing, where if we speak to the people in their own mother tongue or in their own native language, they automatically tend to have a certain sense of trust. And this community is essentially for a holistic growth program, where we'll be having periodic meetups, and this is basically to spread more knowledge and establishing a level ground, so that everyone's on the same page of what we're actually doing. Our CSR and PR campaigns essentially to brand the company as as a company that is very patriotic and doing something, solving a very major issue. So we market the problem and we give the issue, or we give the solution. So people already start loving it. Now we wanna, I wanna bring your notice to the marketing plan. In this, the Pakka Ghar campaign. Now Pakka Ghar, the word Pakka in Hindi means can mean concrete and for sure also. So you wanna brand it like you're gonna be getting a house for sure at the same price you're paying for, and this has a much more this has more durability and sustainability. And we want to make experience centers. Now when we are branding this, we don't want to become like only a house for a tier 3 society. I want everyone to come and stay over here, and that's why we want to make experience centers. And these experience centers will be strategically placed in multiple areas where people can go inside and see like this is just a normal house, and this can be customized as per my will, and I'm paying only 1/6 the total cost of this. Can we move to the next slide, please? This
Alright, so coming to costing.
Yeah,
so basically, these are two types of houses that we have: type A, type B, like depending on the amenities provided. So, like the particulars, we have basically categorized into manufacturing, the primary manufacturing costs, customizations depending on the type of the house, on-site interior work, and other on-site working utilities. So basically, the manufacturing cost includes everything from the raw material to the logistics and to the assembly. Customizations include post-development changes, on-site interior work, and other side work are pretty self-explanatory. Move on to the next slide.
All right, sir. We wanna bring a notice to our promotional strategies also. Once we come up with a full-fledged full-fledged program. See, after our prototype and our development and the testing stage, we come up with these houses everywhere. And how we gonna start it? And we wanna aggressively market our product in order to make sure that people of the world is everywhere around the country. And by the end of 2027, our population is going to be out of everyone's hands. And the government.
Right. I'm so sorry to cut you off, but that's cool. These promotional strategies is all right. Do you have any other slides?
We actually do, sir. We have creatives also. We made a couple of print ads.
Show us like a few. Okay,
so these are the risk mitigation strategies,
right? This is,
and
yeah.
2 print ads that we can go through.
Do we have time to cover the risk mitigation strategies?
Let me just take a look at it for a second, yeah? Awesome. Okay. Has the
Would you like to explain any point?
Could you just tell me about what you mean when you say actual benefits in this slide in particular?
Sure, sir. So what we want to do is not hide any of the benefits of the product from the people. Usually, what happens is when you're marketing a product, people don't market its actual benefits. So what we want to do is market an experience to you. Like, see, this has very less waste. This idea of ours has a very less cost. This idea of ours actually in the long run is also durable, is also sustainable, and also a green idea of ours. And now so these are things we want to advertise in a very creative manner.
Sure. Okay. Makes sense. My thing is this. I believe we're good for rebuttal, right, guys? Like I can begin rebuttal now, right? I'm sorry.
Yes, yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Sure. Sir.
Awesome. Okay. In that case, all right. I liked a lot of stuff about what you guys were talking about. I mean, a lot of it makes sense, and there's some interesting angles you guys have attempted to capture. But I do have one overall kind of question, which is the association between religion and housing. Several times, you've sort of stressed that what you're looking at is whether through dharmstalas or through could you go back to one of your earlier slides? I think it was the
plan of action phase 2.
Right. It was an interesting kind of thing, but it is. It to me felt a little bit skewed, especially because of how sensitive the connection between religion and everything is in our country. It's a very divisive topic. We're a very diverse people, and religion means very different things in very different communities. I kind of wanted to know why you thought that was a good idea to associate prefabricated housing with something as contentious in India as religion.
Thank you so much for your question, sir. I just want to make one clarification. We are associating ourselves with religion, but we are not going to be placing our brand's logo anywhere. This is a part of our CSR initiative, and as a matter of fact, this is our prototype. Like what I'm trying to tell over here is we are testing out our product and how it's going to work out in these kind of phases. So what we're going to do is treat this like donations or like a CS, corporate social responsibility activity by the company, and not going to brand it in any way. I don't. This is going to be like an anonymous donation for our R&D. The end goal of this
I
is
understand, but that sounds a little bit strange. As well as the second thing to that is, I think it's a little bit of a risk, especially considering that this is a market that doesn't necessarily appreciate prefabricated housing or isn't aware of prefabricated housing too much. I don't really think this is the best strategy to sort of ease them into trusting us from a marketing perspective. Moving on, I think what backs me up on this is the difference between your demographics. You talk about the IRA community and you talk about speaking to people in their cultural mother tongues, and you talk about approaching a sector of society that might not necessarily have the same amenities as the upper middle class or the middle class in an urban community. And yet one of your major strategies for sort of reaching out and influencing people is VR and AR campaigns. Selling homes virtually is a very, very big market, and it's a very good idea. But it speaks to selling to a very, very different market than the market that you're initially speaking about with strategies like the community strategy. You see the contradiction there.
I certainly do, but we want to strategically position our product. So when I mentioned while speaking, we do not want this to be just a product just for the tier 3 society.
I understand strategic thinking, but at the same point of time, good marketing research involves solid demographic research and study. And in terms of demographic research and study, anybody will tell you like it's a bad idea to sort of spend too much on trying to get everybody and rather sort of spend the right amount on trying to sort of laser focus on who you're
most certainly. We'd like to go ahead with
considering
this.
your costs. The VR and AR thing, tie-ups with companies for experiential, house tours, etc. All of this stuff. It's a very interesting thing. I was watching, and this is my last point before I stop rambling. But I was watching a documentary on Soviet architecture recently, and it turns out that these people, as part of the USSR, designed prefabricated housing specifically to sort of eliminate the idea of private property and ownership. It was designed as an anti-capitalist measure. From a marketing standpoint, for you to sell the same thing that has even your creative campaigns feature artwork and architecture that looks vaguely Soviet, because all prefabricated housing, even IKEA, kind of features that stark minimalist feel. When you're selling something like that in an inherently capitalist market, especially one with as much population as ours, it's a very interesting challenge. And I feel like you've got a bunch of stuff right, but I feel like some stuff's kind of weird, is all I'm saying. What do you have to say to this?
I certainly accept your point, sir. In our defense, the only thing is we'd like to go ahead with this entire plan in a strategic phase. So we want to start with the tier 3 society. In that, we make communities and we make sure we market it in such a way, and then we market our Maximus product. The product we came up with type A and type B, and we came up with different types of these prefabricated houses. So we sell different products to different people in different names. So it's like we're not trying to create a divide over here. We're just trying to
Now
increase.
you're talking about advertising like a line. Now you're talking about advertising like a line of prefab. Yeah, go ahead.
So if I could add on to my colleague said, so like you rightly mentioned a few seconds back that this is actually a new concept for the people of India.
Right.
So that gives us a certain amount of leeway to experiment with, right?
I understand.
And considering how the demographic is very diverse in India, and let's say there are other constraints like terrain, geographical constraints, and
cultural constraints, a variety of other things.
This gives us unique product placement opportunities, like places where some sort of materials, let's say, are not available throughout the year. So that
I understand, but in that case, I'd like to say that your presentation doesn't really reflect the fact that you're talking about a product line. I feel like that's something you guys have sort of yanked out now, but the presentation kind of doesn't really reflect the fact that you're looking at a variety of different demographics. This sounds like y'all are saying, okay, we have a bunch of ideas and whichever one sticks is the one we're going to use, but that's not necessarily the most convincing pitch from a marketing standpoint. You see what I'm saying?
Yes, we certainly do, sir. No, all we're trying to say is we have a couple of phases.
Yeah, that makes sense. And on an overall sense, though, I really like what you guys have done in terms of trying to account for what Indian culture is and how it sort of manipulates the market. But overall, good job, you guys. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. We got to learn so much from you. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you.
Sure, thank you.
Hope you have a great day.
Thank you so much, sir. Have a nice day.
will
risk.
start presenting now. Yes.
Okay, the first slide is risk analysis. Before we go on to the risk analysis, I would like to point out that the traditional cost of construction is actually increasing in our economy. That is why we are going for prefab houses, and that is why it is a good opportunity to enter the market right now. The cost of borrowing was increasing, and for developers there is a liquidity crunch. So time is actually money. So in order to reduce the time of construction, we are going for prefab houses. We know that the prefab houses, for the 15 to 20%, there's an increase of 15 to 20% in the material cost, but we'll cover that because we are reducing our manual labor requirement by 40%, and we are also reducing our wastage. So talking about the risk analysis in India, what are the possible things that we can face is long periods between initiation and completion of the project. There can be a disruption in supply chain, but we are tackling this issue because of the policies of the government, where they are actually building better rail projects and better road connectivity and increasing the infrastructure. And there's also a problem of assembling and damage control that might be an issue. Next slide. Can you present the next slide? Okay. Now, regarding the TOS analysis, there are two major sectors that we can use our prefab houses in our own projects. One is the housing projects in Mumbai, where we are building a smart city. So in order to shift the people from the slum, where we are redeveloping the slum area, we can use this. And we are also planning to use it as holiday homes in our hospitality sector. So the weakness and opportunity, weakness, threat, strength, and threat, everything is basically explained in the first slide as well. Now, going to the promotion strategy.
Now, talking about the promotional strategy, since prefabricated house is quite a new concept to India, we will have advertisements in TV as well as we'll feature our advertisement in the local magazines. We will have testimonial ads from our customers and the people who hire our services. We will have a documentary about the making of the fabricated houses in NatGeo as well as our YouTube channels. Our product will be placed in various TV series as well as internet series, and we will have multiple campaigns. Now, talking about the mitigation plan for the risk involved, we will try to avoid the longer periods by having increase in our man-force while constructing of prefabricated houses. Talking about the controlling, we will control the supply chain of the raw materials that will be happening during the construction. Talking about transference, we will transfer the risk involved to a third party, that is insurance sector, for different types of risk. For example, loss of goods during the transportation from one place to another, etc. Or on the last is assumption. We will assume some of the factors of risk, and we will accordingly schedule it. Now, talking about STP analysis, Sohail, can you continue?
Yeah, so basically this is our segmentation where we are having affordable housing projects for the people in Mumbai city, and also we'll be focusing on hospitality services in the sector that we have recently entered. So our target is holiday homes and crowded sites, and our positioning is cost-effective technology, so that we are having pre-made, factory-made materials that are assembled on site. So that is our pitch. Thank you. We are open to questions.
Thank you.
Awesome. No general sense of like the budget or costs. This is like not like a ballpark figure of the costs. Do you guys have do you all have a budget?
Regarding the budget, we have not made a budget as of now. So
that's fine. Okay, that's it. It's okay. I liked a lot of stuff that you guys were saying about, and I do actually sort of like the focus on Mumbai. But here's the tricky thing. You've mentioned that increasing costs in real estate and construction is what could possibly be a motivator for people to consider prefab housing in the near future. And yet you're also talking about affordable housing projects, which again are about communal living. They're sort of about giving everybody a roof over their head. Before we get to that, actually, one thing is when you say you're going to be, because a huge sort of opportunity for you guys is that this is cost effective in terms of manpower. When you say that this is going to not require too many people to sort of set up, especially in a post-pandemic economy, you realize what you're actually marketing is no jobs. And when people consider purchasing prefab housing, they're going to realize that this is going to be stuff that today, even though we have Swiggy, Instamart, and a variety of different things, my mom has always preferred sort of giving money to local businesses, local vendors. She buys her fruits locally from like cart people. She buys like she will sort of source stuff from top in town as opposed to Swiggy. And all I'm trying to say here is this is because she, in her own way as a consumer, is aware that she wants to sort of support local businesses. She's very tuned into the marketing of Swiggy and to everything else in general. They are very effective that way. But she's still sort of saving her money and spending it in local businesses because she understands what threat these larger corporations pose. You get what I'm saying with this, though, in the sense you are advertising.
Yes, sir.
Yes. What is your, and this is before we're talking about Bombay and like sort of the clash there. But just to this, what would you say?
Yeah, see, what we are expecting is a reduction in manual labor requirement of 40%. So even if, with any new innovation that comes up, there's a job loss at first, but it opens up another sector where there's a lot of job requirement. So even with all the digitization, like when Uber came up, there was a lot of protest, but actually it opened up a lot of sectors, other sectors as well. So that is going to happen.
All right.
But while tackling the PR issue, the one thing is, if there is a reduction in 40% labor requirement, we are making up for it in providing affordable housing projects in Mumbai, right?
Yes.
Now, okay, that's an interesting sort of take on it. Could we get back to like the third slide you guys had?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I think it was the
TOES analysis.
Right. So in the TOES analysis, you mentioned that one of your strengths is housing problems and hospitality innovation through quality and experience, which I assume you basically mean to take is this is what you guys can bring to the table. Prefab housing is considered to be roughly kind of new in the Indian market. How exactly is this easing people into thinking that you guys are quality service providers? You aren't IKEA. You guys aren't necessarily people who... How are y'all positioning prefab houses, apart from just saying we're going to look at affordable housing in Bombay, which I still have an issue with because, again, we'll get to that, but how are you tackling this thing? How are you basically solidifying your opinion?
Basically, NPCB Limited was into housing, in the housing sector first. So we are an established company that was incorporated in 2012, and up to these many years, we have a good reputation built up. And currently, we are also in the hospitality sector. So that is what we meant by we are exploiting our strength in the two sectors that we are already present and bringing in the prefab technology. So we know that what we are doing.
So also to tackle on the current situation of India, where actually after COVID-19, people are migrating. Many of the people right now don't have no roof on their head. So by having cost-effective houses, we are actually providing them roof over their head.
Now, this brings me to the final point. Cost-effective housing is something that communist societies and communist governments in all throughout the world, both civilized, developed, and underdeveloped, have always tried to pull off. Soviet Russia is the biggest example of this, as is several places in Japan, most of Southeast Asia, etc. India is a capitalist country. What you are selling is inherently a communist product. Kerala and the south of India is a different thing. But what you are selling and marketing from a political standpoint is communal housing. We have joint families. We have khandans that live together in, huge households. But that is not the same as prefabricated housing, which if you've ever seen, Soviet blocks in the UK or sorry, not the UK, but the USSR and in the UK, because apparently some of the architecture bleeds all over Europe. It's a very interesting thing, but these are not places that, and I feel a central aspect of marketing is to tackle this by sort of saying we can customize your houses. It's the biggest freaking, kind of like red light. It should be a huge thing that's part of like every presentation regarding this, because a huge way to sell it. Think about all of the cultures and diversity in India. A huge untapped potential and missed opportunity is saying we're going to offer you prefab housing, but not let you make this prefab housing however you want to, according to your customs, according to your thing. A degree of customization, especially considering you will be offsetting the job loss and doing a variety of things. I don't see any of that I don't see any capitalization on the fact that you're going to be dealing with this otherwise explosive product. What do you think?
Sir, regarding the first statement that you made, actually prefab houses are very common and very much, it was very much in US and Canada, which are capitalist economies as well.
Hell yeah.
So it is very popular in US as of right now.
And I'd like to point out that prefabricated housing in the United States, what you call housing projects, are actually referred to in gangster rap as the projects. They are not places of distinction or good facilities and maintenance. Canada is a different story entirely, but Canada is a different kind of economy. Considering our population, considering our level of cultural diversity, this is sort of the problem with looking at the rest of the world in like a different kind of way, or sometimes. But in our case, specific to India, which is you guys as NPCB Limited are pitching in India specifically, the housing projects in UK are not in the US are not a success. In the UK, they're barely a success. Canada might be a different story, but again, we have different needs and requirements. Do you feel like this is, because I still feel like this is a missed opportunity, the not banking on a customizable some facet of, because if you were IKEA, why does IKEA sell and how does IKEA sell that furniture quite well? Simply because it's capable of sort of saying this thing is customizable to a degree, or you can do what you want with it. What do you have to say about that? Because that is marketing domain.
Yes, of course. When we are moving up on the ladder and we are having different phases of the project, differentiation will come forward, and customization is actually something that we will look forward to, like giving the different segments different opportunities to customize their own homes. But for now, what we are focusing on is affordable housing, and we are having holiday homes in the hospitality sector.
Also, sir, I want to add on, like, sir, I believe everyone, we will customize with the timing, with the time as the time passes by. Like in the last round, also we came up with an idea of container housing, in which the judge actually asked, how will you adopt container housing in India, considering the climate? So what we believe is we will modify the container housing. Similarly, we will modify our houses according to the needs of the customers.
And I understand that. But what I'm saying is, had you guys come to that, like, had you guys come prepared with that in the presentation and already on the table, had you guys mentioned this idea of a product line or sort of put in all of these aspects or said these are future plans, that would at least sort of give us a little bit of leeway. Because as of now, I mean, a huge problem with marketing in general is that people say, these guys sometimes sit in a corner and dream up all these wonderful ideas without taking other things into account. And you kind of see that here. I know at the end of the day, it's not your job to think about PR strategies or, sort of the human resource implications of lost jobs or the financial implications of a budget. But at the same point of time, like, to just have the basic, okay, this is what we're going to do without trying to take, and the communist thing, though, that is definitely like because as marketing, that's the stuff you guys have to be really, really on point with. Like, that's the stuff you guys have to be really in touch with. This is a political ticking time bomb, and we're a country with a lot of religious and political friction. This is something that you're going to have to account for in some way or the other, and at least have some kind of mitigative strategy for. But other than that, good stuff. Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
ensure that these standards are adhered to through two different methods. First, through identification, checkpoint controls at points of assembly and points of manufacture, inspection of both works, buildings in progress, as well as buildings which are in the assembly stage, and last, a quick report mechanism where a particular building or a piece of infrastructure, maybe a beam or a wall, to be found defective, the entire batch will be rolled back, and of course there will be a final stress testing before handover, right? What is the other points of mitigation that we are looking for? Batching and insurance that are quite standard, but additionally, to make ourselves very safe and to make our homeowners feel safe, we would like to bring an external agency on board. Lastly, what do we think the legal implications of this are? We think legal implications are generally very standard. For example, the flood and
sorry, participant, I'll have to interrupt you now. Your time for presentation is up. So can we move on to rebuttal?
Sure. Awesome. My bad. It's just, okay. So this was this was the second last slide. Awesome. No budget. That's cool. But first of all, great job. I like the focus on Bangalore. Good job sort of like selecting like the modern demographic and kind of sticking with it. The whole prefab is here approach works. When you say demos, let's be real. You said you would have live demonstrations, and you really mean flash mobs, don't you? This is
most definitely not. This probably looks like a live construction of a mini-sized building, right? This looks like an actual spectacle that we would like to put out for our home buyers, right? At the point at which we can show that there can be pre-assembled building parts which are just as durable and can form buildings, and we can assemble them right in front of their eyes and see how a building can come into life on a micro level.
Right.
It's easier to sell this on a macro level, and that's what we're going for beyond this campaign.
You've mentioned stress tests several times.
Yes,
as
sir.
both methods of like, but you've never really gone into what you're defining as a stress test, especially considering prefabricated housing has like very, very different structural durability standards. Are you considering specific stress tests for specific units? Do you have like a range of units in mind? What's happening here?
All right. So we think that our stress tests are going to be very different from a traditional stress test, but we think we will be for a number of weather conditions, because we recognize that prefab houses have seen some sort of issues with probably like flood and landslide risks. Given that we are starting in a flood-proof and a landslide-proof area, we think that this would still constitute a stress test. Secondly, we will be looking at how dense the walls are and how much pressure they can take from outside and how much pressure they can take on a roof level.
Right.
Event of like any sort of calamity.
And then assuming that these houses pass these stress tests, your marketing will sell that guarantees that these houses are, they are stress tests and they're durable, they're safe, you can stay in them. Okay. When it comes to the homeowners network, that was good stuff. The idea of like an indirect word of mouth type of thing, that's cool. I do think, because something that I personally hate, and I'm sure all of us do to a certain extent, is invasive advertising, or extremely sort of like privacy invasive advertising, which again, you have to consider the fact that you're dealing with a more conscious demographic now, overall, not just in the sense that you've like zoned in on like modern Bangaloreans or like upwardly mobile young Bangaloreans. You're dealing with a bunch of people who are very well aware of what their privacy rights are, of what the Right to Information Act is, all of that other stuff, who are going to be up in arms and put up a huge hue and cry. They do that every time Swiggy sends me a message saying, hey, here's your favorites, like that you should order from and stuff. And that's the thing. How are you, because you're, as far as marketing is concerned, you are going to lean rather heavily into it, and there's no reason for you not to. It is important data, it's usable data, everybody knows this, but kind of your job right now is not necessarily to spin it as a good thing, but to definitely sell it as through the marketing. Do you think that that's, an important thing to sort of do, especially considering the invasive privacy angle?
Given the invasive privacy angle, we do recognize that we do intend to give opt-outs at different levels. So we think we can protect ourselves from the backlash on a certain level by giving the option of opt-outs, but we do think that even though the population you speak of is very privacy concerned, we don't think they necessarily have problem with advertising that isn't coercive, but rather is tailored. We think attempt to strike a balance where we tailor messaging to them, but not to the extent to which we coerce them. And
Fair
if
enough.
feels
I just hope that the marketing and materials will reflect as much. And
yeah, we do have a piece of marketing material.
Sure. Go for it.
I'm really sorry, but I will have to. This is
No, that's cool.
That we have planned. It's taking a while to load. I will open it for you here. Yeah. So I think
it's fab, indeed.
So we're just hoping to have we are also hoping to have like generic marketing material like this out there. So not all of our conversions or sales are necessarily going to be coercive. And if an individual feels that material like this is also coercive or anyway invasive for them, they have the ability to opt out, and that is something we intend to advertise. So.
All right. Just to wrap up, do you feel like not providing some sort of customizable angle on these houses was a missed opportunity, especially considering how diverse the market is and how diverse India is as a bunch of cultures? And secondarily, do you think that there is any sort of untoward political angle to this marketing of houses at all, considering that they're prefabricated houses in India?
Okay, so two answers to that. We do intend to give a range of activities and a range of customizations to these angles, right? We think that the whole idea of prefab is to ensure that you build your own house, which is why we have opted for marketing measures like design shows and web and live demonstrations, which is why.
See, I just wish you had a slide about that, though. Like, I wish you had a slide with a bunch of like a whole set of different options or like a product line or something of the sort. And financially, this is a little bit of a thing,
Yeah. So in terms of
the politics angle,
the politics angle, we as a company have never necessarily been.
Excuse me, sir. Can we wind this up?
Awesome. Okay. Yeah. So this is your like closing statement.
Yeah, okay. We as a company have never necessarily been political or aligned ourselves. We think our value is only to the customer. Any cheaper, better, durable house belongs to the customer, and that is who we serve. We hope to bring you a cheaper house because that is what prefab is. Thank you very much.
Sure. Okay. Thank you.
prefabricated home is a kind of fashion, and it's used and highly used in such areas. So coming about the risk involved. So this, as we know that this area is quite a blue ocean and not many competitors are existing and not many people are actually involved in the creation of prefabricated houses. The major issues that we might actually face is the quality issue, the risk damage, and inefficient assembly. The quality issues basically arises because of the transportation and also because these houses are made at some place and transported to another place. So, and the risk damage and insufficient assemblies follows because of that. So what we can adopt is basically the 3-way we can build our houses depending upon the areas we are catering to. First is a panel build. Panel build is a way of constructing where we construct the basic structure of the house, and then we transport that and we take it to the location and we complete the concrete and the other heavy part. About the modular, it's basically, I have to explain in terms of Legos, that we create the rooms separately, and then we take these small units and we sort of assemble it to the place. And last is manufactured, where we completely manufacture the house at one place and we transport it to another place. The manufacturing will really work in places where taking the transportation cost is comparatively cheaper. Also, where building house on the spot will be difficult, like hilly, some of the low-lying plateau areas will be good if we go for manufacturing our prefabricated house. Where panel will be very well work for places where we can't really transport our pre-made houses, but we can take the construction materials. Modular is a very flexible way of working. I think so we can work it out both in plateau or plain area or hilly regions. Coming to training and development strategy. Sorry, I'm so sorry. I named this slide wrong. Pardon me for that. But coming to the cost involved, for any 2-tier city in India for a house which is approximately 1,000 square feet, the cost of material plus labors will include us 30 lakh of rupees. It will be little more when we do a manufactured pre-house, because we will manufacture it in one place and transportation cost of that bulk and then carrying it to another place. But it'll be little cheaper if we go to panel, but that permutation combination we have to do based upon the area we are catering to. And finally, coming to the marketing strategy. These houses are not really popular in India, but it's very, very pervasive in nature in other countries. So basically, we will be catering to areas where housing is a problem or construction of housing is a problem. So we can go from very basic strategies like print media, announcement of podcasts, or these things. What creative thing we can do that we have learned from design HQs or shows like that we can create our own show on TLC or any other Indian television channel, where we can actually show how these homes are built and how these things are taken to one place. We can take interviews of people who are already have lived in these houses for sampling. And carrying forward, we can actually make sample houses and can give it to holiday destinations where people can come and enjoy those houses, and it will always be a marketing strategy for us. Old people, rather than sending them to old age homes, and we can actually create a place like this where we can create small prefabricated houses, and they can be a niche customer in that sense. And one of the key, I would say, greatness of such houses because of affordable prices, sustainability, and economy in building such things. So it will be one of the ways we can actually market our product. Lastly, Ek Ghar and Do Sapne, basically a campaign that we can start on, whether it's podcasts, radios, any ways, where we can sort of promote our product. That's all for presentation. I'll be open to question.
Awesome. Great presentation. I had a question though. Is it Ek Ghar Do Sapne?
Yeah, it's basically if we assume 2 people are living in one home, so Ek Ghar and Do Sapne.
Okay, awesome. Okay, no, that's cool. All right. I like that you had a little bit of a options thing when it came to construction. I mean, you took a look at legality, etc., and you said that if we're considering construction, considering where we're building, here's 3 different ways we can go about construction. But I feel like from a marketing perspective, I'm looking for a safe bet, like not necessarily 100% sure shot this is going to work type thing, but as opposed to a bunch of options that each maybe could possibly work. I'd rather like a one size fits all solution type thing. I mean, it's idealist to a certain extent, but at the same point of time, taking into account various different climates, etc., there is possibly some sort of standardized. I feel like that's a slightly missed opportunity in this case. That you've given us options, which is a good thing, but like a little more enthusiasm supporting one option in particular, I guess, might have been cool. When you say safety concerns are sort of, when you say that prefab houses already exist in Andhra Pradesh and there's certain communities who are doing this, there's concerns about quality, you say, but you don't really bring up safety, which I feel is a slightly different ballpark. It's not necessarily IKEA furniture, which if it's bad quality would sort of degrade over some time and then you'd swap it out for the next piece of IKEA furniture. This is the house. Like, this is the whole house. So is like, what is your stance on this?
So what we can do, example, we are a construction company and we do construct houses. So there'll be like, for any product you buy, you have a warranty period. I know it's a house and it will be really funny if I talk about warranty period about houses. But what we can do is like, you can raise the concern to the construction houses and we can actually look and go and check out like what's the problem and how we can get about it. It might actually cost you a little bit more cost, but I think so this is a way we can actually make a good relationship with our customers as well, that we are your family, your concerns.
But it sounds like a marketing and PR disaster in one sense, though. If in case somebody gets hurt in one of these houses, that's not just you can show up and then like, you know, figure out what went wrong type deal. That's so again, I've quoted this like 4 times. I'm going to sound like a broken record, but there is another government who tried doing this and they did this quite well and they minimized accidents because to them, their whole goal about this was standardized. It doesn't matter where in the country you are dealing with a standard set of materials, a standard set of, and this influences marketing in a very, very unique kind of way. Because as always, I feel like, do you have any thoughts on customizing these domiciles for people? Do you feel like, because along with the product
actually, we can, as I mentioned before, that we will be following 3 different construction methods. So when we go to a locality which is a hilly area, there will be differences in a house that is built in plain area and a hilly area. So they will have different roof structure. Yeah, they'll be a little different because what's sustained
versus the
yes, if you can actually, it's a very good way of marketing about to put it. But
sense.
A place which is a hilly area will have a different structure, whether it's warmth, whether it's temperature, whether it's about landslides. They will have its different of construction and will be different. So that's why the cost
next
might
time
actually
just throw that in the presentation a little more emphatically, right? Like just like more enthusiastically, just sell like these aspects of it. But thank you.
Sure,
good stuff.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much, panel.
Judges, this is Niranjan and Zishan from Team Coalescence. First of all, when it comes to our penetration strategies, augmented promotion. Augmented promotion is basically aggressive marketing strategy, since people are not really aware through different means of marketing that we'll be explaining in the later slides. Second, widening of distribution channels. So since it's since these houses can be easily distributed or easily transported, we can widen our distribution channels and use it for different avenues. And there are a lot of ventures we can tap into. Third one, it's a detailed risk analysis. So we have to have a detailed risk analysis before going into the market, and we have to analyze which location is better, which we have already done. So we'll be explaining it. Zishan?
Right. Can we go to the next slide, please?
Yeah, it is nice.
Right. So the advantage of our prefabricated houses would be they're eco-friendly, right? So modular construction is often commended for, you could say, energy efficiency and sustainable construction. So most of these traditional construction methods require a lot of extra material that leads to a lot of increased waste. Yeah, and since prefabricated and sub-assemblies, they're all constructed in factories, all these extra materials can be recycled in the whole process. Financial savings would be one of the greater advantages of these prefabricated constructions, because although the you could say the perception of custom-made pieces may seem expensive, but with prefabricated, that's not the case. It's very cheap. Consistent quality, because prefabricated constructions occur in a controlled manufacturing environment, and all of these allows they set standards basically. Reduce site disruption, since many components of a building are completed in the factory, right? So there are significantly less truck traffic, equipments, and other material suppliers at the final construction site. Shorter construction time, because portable construction takes significantly less time to build than on an on-site construction, right? Obviously, and in many instances, prefabrication takes less time and compared to the proper traditional construction. Can we go to the next slide? Right. So our marketing strategies would be firstly cause marketing. So we'll do this by joining hands with Darpan, which is a renowned NGO in Goa. And with the help of Goa, for the PM house schemes, we'll be conducting various campaigns to promote our prefabricated house, and we'll relocate all the homeless people who are making such small shelters. Product placements, basically we're going to feature our prefabricated house. We're going to construct the big boss house with our materials. And by doing this, we'll also build, you could say, reliance on the customers, that the houses are very stable. And because big boss are literally, they create a wreck in the house, right? So we can tell them if we can handle them, we can handle any situation. Puzzle Mania is going to be a game campaign where customers will be solving our puzzles, and after solving them, they'll receive a QR code. And after scanning the QR code and completing the formalities, they can win a chance to build their dream house. So coming to Kana Watsugi. So by utilizing the concepts of Kana Watsugi, which is a Japanese art of joinery. So basically, they make houses and stuff out of wood without using a single nail. And since it's already trusted worldwide or in Japan, utilizing these concepts will really help us gain a lot of trusts. Durability exhibitions is basically an exhibition where you can make the house a lot of tests. Essentially, you could heavy rains and gusty winds and stuff, which will also help us to gain a lot of trust. Sach Hoga Sapna is a campaign, so we'll be making a world record for constructing a house under the least time ever. So this will also be a part of our PM house schemes. We'll be making a world record, and these houses will be allotted to poor people. Can we go to the next slide?
So to talk about our pricing, if we tap into this market.
Participants, sorry to cut you in the middle. Your time's up for presentation. So please could we move on to the rebuttal?
Yeah.
Can we just hover through the slides if you don't mind?
Awesome. Yeah, sure. No, there's just one more left after the finance one, right?
Yeah. So basically, this is the pricing if we tap into the market. This is based on the US pricing that is offered now, and calculating the inflation of the time period, that is 2025. And this is our creator. That's pretty much it.
Right. All right. Good stuff. Cool presentation. My first question is, when you talk about financial savings, because if you go back to your third slide, that is the, it's basically it's the advantages for prefab housing in India. Right. First of all, I feel like when you're selling this kind of a product, especially that's new in this type of a market, all of this stuff needs to be pushed much, much, much harder. and that has to be really sort of reflected in the marketing. Like the fact that it's eco-friendly, the fact that it's got a shorter construction time, all of that is great. Unfortunately, when you say financial savings, what financial savings equates to in real world terms is societal loss, because what you're talking about is savings by not having to employ that many people, savings by having to cut out on like deep economic things, right? Which is not necessarily the marketer's purview, but it is something marketing has to take into account. What would you say that do you think that your campaign is doing a good enough job of sort of addressing the fact that what is a cost efficient move for us is not necessarily the best move for the public, which of course they're very perceptive of?
Right. See, our main concept and our main perspective for financial savings would be because you're using less materials and you don't have a lot of labor as well, right? So you already have a lot
110%.
of
But how are you
cost
selling
cutting.
this to the public as a good thing? Like, how are you selling this to the public as a...
So to answer this question,
your
it's
family
financial savings
members
not only for us.
probably aren't employed. Yeah, go for it.
So it's financial savings not only for us, but the houses are a lot cheaper than the traditional houses. So financial savings for them as well. That is also what we need.
Okay. So we're going to go with it's cheaper for us to make and it's cheaper for you to own,
to buy.
which is why the trade-off is it's okay if you're not necessarily supporting like local businesses or employment or anything else like that. It's okay if you mitigate that. I still feel like it could be pushed a little bit harder, but I get what you're saying, I guess. Moving on. When you take into account, like I like the NGO idea of things because you wanted to do the cause marketing bit in the marketing plan thing. The NGO thing is okay. But when you say something vague and nebulous, this is kind of another marketing pitfall. When you say we're going to relocate all the homeless and then, sort of take care of it and put them somewhere and then do a thing. This is, again, sort of a double-edged sword. India is a country that has a lot of issues, a lot of problems, and a lot of people trying to do a lot of things to change these issues and problems. The big boss thing and the army shelter makes sense because that's one kind of wacky modern-day demographic you're going for, which is all right. But cause marketing is best left to people who are sincere and serious about it. Do you really think that it's a better idea for something that is as new as prefab housing to be associated with a real sincere cause and a farce like Big Boss at the same time? Do you think like that's the best approach?
No, so we're collaborating, we're joining hands with the NGO, but all of this is under the PM House schemes.
Sure, I understand that, and the PM House schemes make sense, but all I'm saying is you're dipping your fingers into a lot of different pies from a marketing perspective.
So basically, we can pitch cause marketing as our CSR as well. So this will strengthen our allies with the government as well. So we can partner with these slum rehabilitation authorities by state and central governments.
Sure enough.
And we're not promising anything large that we're relocating all the homeless people into this.
You did say that though.
No, sir. It's practically impossible, as we know.
Sure.
Right. So yeah, we can partner. We can join hands with the government and provide houses at extremely subsidized rates, and this will work as a CSR for us. And we can say it will strengthen allies with the government as well.
Sure. My final point is I think the whole Kanawatsugi thing is second final point. Actually, sorry. I think the Kanawatsugi thing is interesting, simply because it's sort of. I guess you guys are marketing Weebery or anime, which I suppose is cool, I guess. But again, it speaks to a very interesting demographic. I'm not really sure what, Japanese houses that are made with like one nail or without a nail or something. I'm not really sure what that translates to in an Indian sense, but I think it's okay. I just would like a little more sort of fixture on exactly who these houses are meant for. Because demographically, I'm getting a sense, but not a very fixed sense. I'm looking at the army as well as people who watch Big Boss, as well as people who are anime fans. Like it's all over the place. Demographically, who exactly are these prefab houses targeted at as part of an initial launch wave?
Zishan.
Yeah. So we're mainly focusing and targeting middle class and upper middle class people because this is a very futuristic approach.
Sure. Okay.
We just want to diversify the ventures that we're tapping into. So, like it's mentioned, the market in India for refab houses is very less, and the only way that we convert this into huge profitability is by tapping into different ventures. So
and I understand this, but when what my only point here is the same point as you guys are saying, which is
sorry to interrupt. We'll have to wind this up. Yes.
Sure. On your final slide. Right, my bad. On your final slide, the finances also seem kind of okay. So yes, good stuff, you guys.
Okay. Thank you, Judge. Thanks
Thank
a
you
lot
so
for your
much,
time.
sir. Thank you so much.
Sure.
Thank you,
Thank
OC.
you,
Good
participants.
stuff.